Welcome to Garden Delights. I'm Susan Howington, Family Consumer Science Agent with the Henry County Cooperative Extension, partnership with the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension. Today we're going to be talking about broccoli. We're also going to hear from Frank Hancock, our Agriculture and Natural Resource Agent, and he's going to talk a little bit more about those tomatoes. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights. Welcome back to Garden Delights. Today we're talking about broccoli, and you know I love broccoli. I can eat it any time of the year. But I will tell you that we're going to talk about what's so good about broccoli. Broccoli is very, very good for you. It is going to be low fat, cholesterol free, saturated fat free. Not only that, but you're going to be getting a lot of good fiber from this broccoli and good iron and potassium. So it is just loaded. And you know, sometimes they talk about broccoli being the powerhouse. Well, it is a very powerhouse as far as a vegetable goes. So make sure you include it in your diet. It is also very low in calories. It is about 31 calories, about a cup of raw broccoli. And so if you just took this and broke it up into pieces and got a cup, that's about 31 calories. Now, when you're looking for that broccoli in the grocery store, or if you're growing it in that garden, either way, you want to look for the head of the broccoli. You want to make sure the flower florets are very compact because that tells you the broccoli is at the stage it needs to be picked. You want to look for firm, good color. All that is included as far as selection. Same thing at the grocery store. You know, look at that broccoli. Make sure you see it really firm in the florets, and you want it to be firm because once it starts sprouting, the broccoli is going to be limp. It's not going to be tasty as if it's firm like what you're seeing right here. Now, as far as storage goes, broccoli will store in your refrigerator for about 3 to 5 days. But hopefully in that time, you know exactly what you're going to do with that broccoli. And I do say that when you're putting it in your refrigerator, you might want to put it in an airtight container or a Ziploc bag to keep the moisture into it, to keep it fresh for those 3 to 5 days also. And I will tell you this, broccoli does freeze very well. So if you're looking a way to prolong it, it is a great thing as far as freezing goes also. So keep broccoli in your diet. I will say at least once a week. One good thing about broccoli, you can eat it raw, steamed, or cooked. So it's just a great vegetable to eat on. So when we come back, we're going to check out Frank and see what he's doing out in the garden. So we'll see you back in just a little bit on Garden Delights.
Okay, today I thought we would get a little update on how our tomatoes are doing. If you recall, I think a show or two ago we were planting tomatoes, and I thought we'd just take a look at how they're doing. We trying something a little different this year. We covered them up. We always are battling with stink bugs and leaf-footed bugs. And the leaf-footed bugs and the stink bugs are here because I saw 2 of each over here on our blackberries, and they hit the blackberries first. And we've got a few sunflowers planted here on the end of this corn to just give them something to go to try to keep them away from the tomatoes. But this year we decided to just cover the tomatoes up and just not let them have access to the tomatoes at all. And so what we're going to do here, I'm going to uncover this. The wind's blowing a little bit. If you recall, when we did this before, the wind was blowing a lot. So I think our cover is going to stay here. But I'm going to uncover this, and so we can open it up and take a look at the tomatoes and just see how we're coming along. So if we open them up, you can see Our plants are looking good. There's plenty of tomatoes in here on each one of these plants. So if we have a little good fortune here, we're going to have a few tomatoes. And they'll be along fairly shortly. If you know, our leaves are looking good. We'll water them. Our irrigation system is in here beside each tomato plant. We looked at that earlier. So a couple of times a week we turn the water on so that they're not starving for any water. And you can see all of these tomatoes down in here that are on these plants that and they're all still blooming. So we got tomatoes that are ripening, we got tomatoes that are coming along, and we got blooms. And if you listen to Walter Reeves, Walter will tell you that you should thump your tomato plants every now and then so that the pollen gets distributed evenly. But I think under this cover, they've done really well. And the cover's held up well. It's kind of delicate, and we got a place or two where we've rubbed a hole in it. We put this hose over our tomato cages so that we don't rub on it too much. But anywhere it rubs, gets a hole, we put a little piece of tape over it, everything's fine. So it hadn't gone anywhere. We added a little bit of gypsum to our tomatoes. Gypsum is a readily available form of calcium, and it keeps you from having that early blossom end rot. A lot of times early in the season you get blossom end rot because the root system hadn't developed to bring enough calcium up to support the load of tomatoes that's on there. So we're looking forward to having no blossom end rot by adding the gypsum. And you know, gypsum is the same thing that they make sheetrock out of, but I recommend you buy a little bag at the store. It doesn't take much. Just sprinkle a little bit on the ground. If you're going to get it out of the wall, I recommend you get it out from behind the dryer, somewhere where you won't be able to see it, and you can just cut your little piece of sheetrock and crumble it up. But my recommendation, though, is that you go get it at the store. So right now, we're not having any insect issues, no pollination issues. Everything seems to be going as planned. And so we'll be picking tomatoes here hopefully in a couple of weeks. They'll be ready to go. We've also got our sweet corn back over here. It's tasseling now. If you're growing some sweet corn, it's better to grow it in 4 or 5 rows, even if they're real short rows, than it is one long row, because corn gets pollinated by the wind, and so the more rows you have, the better pollination you get with the corn. So we planted, I think, about 4 rows here, and it's I think that's Silver Queen corn that we planted, and it's come up well. We've got some up in our community garden, and it's looking good too. The squash is coming in now, and so far we've stayed away from the squash vine borers, but we'll find out more about that as we go along. So that's just to give you a little bit of an update here on what's going on with these tomatoes. You know, we've talked in the past about what do you do if you get a disease on a tomato. And when you're growing a few like we're growing here, if I get one that I don't like the looks of it, I pull it up. And you can see an example of that right down here. That little tomato right down there is one that wasn't looking too good, so I pulled it up. Rather than try to figure out what to do about it, I got rid of it, and we planted another one right there. So it'll be coming along. I think what we're going to do now is go inside and see what Susan is fixing.
Welcome back to Garden Delights. Today we're talking about broccoli, but we're going to make a chicken and broccoli casserole. Well, when I say casserole, that doesn't mean we have to put it in the oven. We're going to do a casserole right here on top of this oven, the stove top. So let's check this out, how easy it is. Oh, and it's going to be so tasty. So the first thing you're going to do for this recipe, which is a very simple recipe, it's not going to have a whole lot of ingredients, but the first thing we're going to do is we have about a medium-sized onion, and I have diced it up really nice, small size. This helps it, to me, cook a little bit faster. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in and get this kind of going, and I'll tell you a little bit more about what's in the recipe. All right, so I just happened to be cooking out, and I decided that I would just cook out my breast. So the recipe is going to call for about 2 cups of chicken, and so I cooked 2 chicken breasts, and that's about 2 cups. So if you're trying to figure out how much chicken you want, about 2 cups, that's about 2 breasts. And then you're also going to need about a 10-ounce bag of broccoli. It can either be fresh, steamed like I was talking about earlier, or you can have it frozen and then steam it, however you want to do it. And I use the broccoli florets because I just like those in a casserole. And then it's also going to tell you need about 1.5 cups to 2 cups of rice. So I have that ready. And then you're also going to add some cream of mushroom soup, and this is the low-fat, low-sodium cream of mushroom soup. And before it's all over with this casserole, you're going to add a little bit of cheese and a little bit of salt and pepper to taste. And it's that quick. So my onions are already starting to get cooking over here, and I smell them, and they smell really good. I think anytime you go out and you're listening to people, listening to something cook, and you're wondering what it is, and if it's onions, to me, it just smells so good. So all I want to do is just kind of get my onions kind of heated up. These are heating up really quick, and you just want to where they have a little bit of translucent look to them, and so that's what I'm trying to do right now. And then once this is about softened up a little bit, because you don't want them totally soft, you want a little bit of crunch, and you just want them heated up because we're going to add the other ingredients, and it's also going to cook a little bit longer. And onions to me just smell so, so good. All right, so I have these heating up really nice. And what I did also for this pan, I did spray it with a spray type. So if you want to, you could also use maybe a tablespoon of olive oil, but I did spray the pan to keep everything from sticking. So I'm gonna just spoon these diced onions around just a little bit more, and then I'm gonna start adding the other ingredients to it. So we talked about the chicken, and so I'm going to go ahead and add the chicken to it, and that's about your 2 cups. Oh, and now it even smells even better from a cooked out piece of chicken to that part of it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the rice, and I kind of already cooked it, so I'm going to kind of move it around to make sure it gets going with the other. Add the other part of it. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and add the broccoli. And the broccoli is about 10 ounces of broccoli. I'm going to stack a little bit here. I'm going to stir this around. And it's already smelling good. And I know I said casserole. A lot of times you think casserole, you're going to have to stick it in the oven, but this is a casserole that we're going to cook right here on top. So I'm going to get everything kind of toasted up a little bit. And now I'm going to add the cream of mushroom soup. And then we want to mix that cream of mushroom soup really, really well with the other ingredients. So I'm going to add that. I'm going to make sure I get all of it though, because it'll really make it tasty. Should be good. And I'm just going to kind of mix it around. And notice I didn't add any water because I'm trying to keep it all confined. And I'm about to lose some of my onion, but I got it right back in there. And I do want to make sure it's mixed up really, really well, because the last ingredients is going to be a little salt and pepper, and also I'm going to add the cheese. And so when you're getting ready to serve this, you do want to make sure that you have it ready hot and then you're going to add your cheese, and then you want to be ready to serve it and eat it as soon as it's ready. So as you can see, it's not taking long at all to get this ready. So I'm going to just stir it around because I really want to make sure everything is blended in well. And we're almost there. So you're getting a lot of good broccoli in your diet by eating this. And this is really not a high-calorie meal at all. So it's really a good meal to eat. So isn't that just beautiful as far as, and I can tell you it smells really good. The chicken, the broccoli, all that, the onion smells really good. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to add just a little bit. And it's just a little bit of salt and pepper to flavor. And if you're watching your sodium, you know, you don't have to. You can even just add pepper to it. So that's another way to do it also. All right, so we have our broccoli in with this casserole. So we have a chicken and broccoli casserole right here on top. And is that not easy? And if you could smell it, you would say, I can't wait to eat it because it smells so good. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to toss it. And it's going to tell you about a cup of cheese to put on top. And this is really fine cheese because, you know, when you shred cheese, you don't get as much, feel like you're eating as much, but yet it gives it that taste. So it's about, you know, depending on your eye, about how much you want to put on it. And it's going to melt really fast. So this is about a cup of fine shredded cheese, and this is a low-fat cheese. So I'm going to put it all on there, and that is it. How easy is that? So you've got a meal in seconds. So when we come back, Frank and I will be tasting this chicken and broccoli casserole. See you back in just a little bit. Welcome back to Garden Delights, Frank. We have chicken and broccoli casserole.
It looks wonderful.
It's going to be so good. I can't wait to taste it.
Like it has a little cheese in it.
It's got a little cheese.
A little rice.
A little rice. You're getting good. Chicken. Is that good? Start off?
It looks good.
Just don't burn your mouth because I don't know how hot it is.
It feels like
It's pretty warm.
It feels pretty hot.
It does to me too. So don't burn your mouth. I want to make sure I get some broccoli. It's very warm, but it is tasty.
I recommend you eat this slow.
Mm-hmm. Me too. And we're getting a lot of good fiber in our diet today eating this broccoli. That is really good.
We have some pretty good broccoli in our garden. Last fall, it's all gone now.
You have to check out the recipe on the website. You're going to love it. It's really, really good.
And it's hot.
That it is. That is really good. And we just got a little bowl. We have a lot of food left for a lot of people to taste, don't we?
Well, we have to be polite when you're on TV.
Yes.
But after that, we'll dig in.
That sounds like a winner. Frank and I'll see you next time on Garden Delights.